Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we have a very special Q&A video for you, all about being a highly sensitive person. It is part of my Highly Sensitive Person video series. If you've missed it, you can find a link to the playlist right here and in the description, of course. You guys sent me some very interesting questions, so let's dive right in. I'm sorry if my voice sounds strange, by the way. I just had a cold last weekend, so that's why it might sound a little off. Today I talk about things like getting overstimulated and anxious, getting emotional in public places, to how to talk about it with the people around you, and also something about highly sensitive children and how I experienced it when I was a child. So far I've gotten so many amazing responses from people from all over the world who are also highly sensitive, and I have to say it touched me so deeply. I'm so impressed by this community, and I hope my videos have helped you and will continue to do so in the future. First question is from Lisa Foster. My question is about being someone who cries easily. There are times I don't mind a good cry, other times I would prefer not to cry in front of others, like at work. Do you have any advice for that situation? As highly sensitive people, we process everything very deeply and we feel our emotions a lot more strongly. So this can be quite overwhelming, and I find myself too very often in situations where I feel like crying in public places. For example, a few weeks ago I was helping this lady with the subway and I was giving her directions, and we ended up on the same subway for a few stations, and she started telling me about how her husband passed away. And I remember just praying for her to change the subject because I was about to cry and I was on my way to a very important meeting. So of course I did not want to cry. These things happen to me, a lot, so I know what you mean. First of all, I don't think showing our emotions is something that we should be ashamed of, so maybe it would be okay to just let it go and cry if you need to. But I can understand that you would not want to cry at work, for example, all the time. So here are a few things that I do when I'm in situations like this. First is something called emotional regulation, which is something that a lot of us already do on a subconscious level. It means taking some distance between yourself and a situation. This can be literal, so finding a quiet, empty place where you can go to kind of cool down and be alone for a while. But if that's not possible, like with me on the subway, it means kind of taking some mental distance between yourself and the thing that's making you cry. It's kind of hard to explain really, but I put up this temporary wall, and sometimes that helps. I also try to focus on something that makes me happy, something calming, positive, and reassuring. On a more general level, I would like to advise you to always deal with your emotions and process them when you're alone. And mindfulness meditation is also very helpful because you get to evaluate and see whatever's going on inside your body and your emotional state without getting overwhelmed by it. Next question is from Sierra Day. Being a highly sensitive person, I tend to get very anxious when overstimulated. Is this normal? Yes, I think that's normal. And I really like the DOES acronym to explain this. So DOES, D-O-E-S, kind of summarizes all aspects of high sensitivity. And the D stands for depth of processing. Highly sensitive people process everything a lot more deeply on a subconscious level. The O I will get to later. The E stands for emotional reactivity and also empathy, and they are very strong in highly sensitive people. And then the S stands for subtleties, to which most of us are extremely aware. The O is the only downside to being highly sensitive, as Dr. Elaine Aron puts it, because it stands for overstimulation. We get easily overstimulated and overwhelmed by these other three things. And this can lead to us getting tired easily, or getting burnt out, or getting anxious. And so we really have to take good care of ourselves and know ourselves in a way to achieve that balance between getting overstimulated and not doing much at all. And this is very different for everybody. If you haven't seen it yet, check out my video for healthy habits for highly sensitive people, where I discuss this more. Next up, we have a question from Lou. Do you remember how you were when you were a child? What you would have liked other people to do to help you in a difficult situation? This is a very interesting question. So I was kind of a weird kid in many ways, and sometimes people didn't really know what to do with me. And this went for adults, but also for my friends. I was usually quite shy and quiet and well-behaved, but I also had a very rich imagination. Like, I actually believed that I could fly to school, and I also had this imaginary purple cat that I would take with me on walks. The teachers first thought that I was really shy, but then they found out that that wasn't really it. So then I remember doing some sort of aptitude tests. Maybe they wanted to see if I was all there. And I scored really high on those tests, so they gave me extra homework, which I kind of loved. And then they thought that I had this fear of failure, and I wanted to go to a high school with advanced subjects, but they actually advised me not to go there because they thought I would not be able to handle failing these subjects. Luckily, I was also very stubborn, and my parents let me go anyway, and I was able to get through high school with advanced subjects very easily. So the adults in my life definitely did not understand that I was the way I was because of my high sensitivity. And my parents, luckily, they were very supportive. They let me do what I wanted to do, and it turned out well. My friends were also very frustrated with me sometimes because I needed so much alone time. I just loved being in my room alone with a cup of tea, reading a book or doing my homework, because looking back on it now, that was what I needed to do to decompress. But of course, I couldn't explain this to them because I didn't even understand it myself, so they were sometimes angry with me when I didn't want to hang out with them. For anyone who's interested, I can recommend the book The Highly Sensitive Child. I'll link it down there. Next up, from Michelle. I am a highly sensitive person that struggles with feeling sad from the news and the way in which animals are treated. How do you work with these feelings and still stay informed? Okay, so this one I can definitely relate to. A couple months ago, I was walking with a friend and I saw these people outside of a store, and they were protesting because apparently this store sells fur. And I really applaud these people for protesting there because I think it's, awful that they still sell fur there. But these people were carrying signs with pictures, and they were horrible pictures, and they still haunt me to this day. I really wish that I had not seen these pictures. Personally, I don't follow the news much. It affects me way too strongly. If something very important is going on, you will hear about it whether you want to or not. But I just choose not to expose myself to too much negativity because it can really get me depressed. So I think this is very personal and something that everyone should figure out for themselves where their balance is. I try not to contribute to any of the bad things going on in the world, and I do my best to help the people and the animals around me, and I try not to let that other stuff affect me too much. Next up, from Jana. What about a relationship of two highly sensitive people? Do they understand each other better, or is it exhausting? I think it can be both, actually. I don't think that one is necessarily better than the other. My boyfriend also has a very sensitive personality, though maybe not as sensitive as me, but we definitely understand each other very well. But we've also been together a really long time. So the benefit of both being highly sensitive is obviously that you understand each other very well. You know exactly what the other person is going through, and you don't have to use your words to explain what's going on. In the other case, where one is very sensitive, the other is not so much, you probably have very different personalities, very different strengths that really complement each other, and then you can help each other out. But even with me and my boyfriend, we are very different people in a lot of ways, and so we both have different strengths to add to the relationship, and I think it all comes down to communication. And if that works well, then I think both situations can be equally good. Next, we have a question from Olivia. What are some things, habits that help you to self-reflect or become aware of the problems, flaws in your life? For me, it's journaling and talking to a very close friend. Great question. Journaling is very effective for a lot of people. It's a great habit to have. So for me, I've always been a person who thinks a lot. And when it comes to self-reflection, I don't really think about things on a very active level, but more on a subconscious level. So for example, when I'm taking a shower or when I'm vacuuming the apartment, I like to leave my mind alone and let it do whatever it needs to do to process through things. And then sometimes something will just bubble up to the surface and I'm like, yeah, that's true. And I feel like I've learned something about myself. Something that I also notice myself doing a lot is talking about things with a friend in my mind. So I talk through things and I process things this way when actually they're just thoughts, but I feel like it's a conversation. Also, talking about it with a close friend, like you said, or with my boyfriend, it really helps me a lot. Or reading a book and seeing how other people deal with things and think about things. And even making these videos has been helpful for self-reflection a number of times. Last question is from Yolanda. What is the best way to explain to a non-HSP what you feel and why sometimes things are more difficult for us? That is a very important question. I'm still learning about this as well, and maybe the best way would be to ask them to read the Highly Sensitive Person book, because then they would get the entire picture, but of course that's not always possible. But I think it's very important for more people to understand, and here's why. Highly sensitive people have often been told by society that there's something wrong with them, that they are broken or too sensitive, and that they need to toughen up, and that is just not true. So I think it's important to explain it well. In my search for this, I came across this website called highlysensitiverefuge.com, which I will link in the description box below, and they list 5 things that they feel you should incorporate into your explanation. First is that our nervous system is more sensitive to stimuli of any kind, and this is because our brain processes everything much more deeply. Second is that this is a trait that we are born with, much like eye color and hair color, and around 15% of all people can be categorized as highly sensitive. Third thing is that it doesn't necessarily mean emotionally sensitive, though it can, because we are very tuned into our feelings and we feel them much more strongly. The fourth thing is that too much stimulation can easily overwhelm us. And the last one is that high sensitivity also comes with many benefits, and if you want to know what they are, you can find them right here. When you include these things into your explanation, it gives a very accurate picture of what it's like to be highly sensitive, and then you can include some of your own personal experiences to it as well, which are of course very different for everyone. You can also always use my videos to explain it to the people around you about what it's like to be highly sensitive, and I know a lot of you have shared them already. You are not alone in this. There are many people out there that feel exactly the way you're feeling. In the end, HSP is only a label, and it does not come close to describing you as a person. We are all unique in our own way. So take what works for you and leave the rest. Everything becomes so much easier when we know what we need and how to take care of ourselves. Please leave any questions you still have down below, and make sure to click subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We have such a great community here, and it's been lovely to connect with you all. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye!